Alrighty guys, I'm Morthadon, and we are back for My Hero Academia, Season 4, Episode 2, and I'm really excited because I think last episode I wasn't in the most excited mood because I pretty much knew the first episode was gonna be, typical My Hero Academia recap stuff. Every season, obviously, except for Season 1, has kinda had that. Season 2 was not as much, but that's what I expected going into it. But now I'm really looking forward to things to, really get going. And even though last episode was fantastic, don't get me wrong, it was probably one of the best recap episodes I've seen from a show in a while. It still, was recap. So I'm really looking forward to getting into this now. So, one thing I wanted to say real fast, hopefully I don't talk too much about this, I was actually watching some reactions to My Hero Academia because I watched one of the channels I watched is Semblance of Sanity, and they re-uploaded a bunch of episodes from Season 3 that I didn't get to see, and a lot of them they talked about Toga, and it got me thinking about Toga a little more, and I'm very interested in her character. I don't know why, but until I heard them talk about it a little bit, and then I started to have some theories myself, I wasn't really I didn't realize how interested I was in Toga, as a character, because she has this, the quirk to transform into other people. That's great, but she also had that technique that she used during the provisional licenses that allowed her to escape your vision, go into your blind spots and stuff. Which is fascinating how that's not even a quirk, that's just a technique. And also when it revealed that she was the girl during the provisional license, that Cammy girl, she was talking to someone, it might have been Dobby, on the phone, and talked about how she's, never been caught. And, I don't know, she sounded so confident, it makes me wonder if the look that is Himiko Toga that we met isn't even really her real look. She seemed experienced, not for a, high school or middle school girl or whatever she's supposed to be. It really makes me wonder if she has another appearance and she's really older, and she just does this even in the League of Villains to hide her identity even from them. But, I don't know, I could be wrong on that. It was just something, she has this technique, she brags about, being so good that she's never been caught, but who knows. Anyways, I just wanted to talk about that real fast, because that was something that I never really talked about in my discussions, and, I just wanted to bring it up. But, anyways, I've rambled on way too long, so let's hop into this episode, shall we, and see what it's about. Alrighty guys, so like usual, there's going to be a Vimeo link down in the description. You guys can click that link, it'll bring you right to the reaction, and then you can come back here for the discussion portion. So go ahead and click that link right now, guys. Alrighty guys, so that is the end of episode 2. Damn, guys, that was kind of weird, right? That this whole episode, it contrasted itself in such a strange way. I'm not really one to draw, to try to look at the big picture of what an episode means. That's just not really how I roll. But this episode, it started off very dark with the whole Overhaul stuff and League of Villains, and then it transitioned into very, serious stuff, like the work study and All Might being against it. And then the ending, they just jumped to, this weird humor. Not weird, but, they made it be probably one of, the weirdest and most funny things that My Hero Academia has done in, canon, right? Some of the OVAs have had some, really silly stuff, and obviously there's been funny moments throughout the show, right? But, that was just ridiculous in my opinion at the end there. It was like they were trying to be okay, yes, we showed you all this dark crap and all this serious stuff, but the show can still be fun, it it didn't seem, I don't know. I could see some people seeing it as forced, you know? Like, but at the same time, I still very much enjoyed it, because the Sir Night Eye guy has, a quirk in his personality, if you'd say. He's this very serious guy who takes himself serious, and at first I thought that Mirio was messing with Deku. I really thought he was gonna be like, make him laugh, and he was just gonna be this like super serious person all the time, and he wasn't like gonna like it at all. And Midoriya was just gonna make a fool out of himself, and Mirio was just gonna laugh and be like, haha, a little bit of hazing between friends, like, upperclassmen doing this to the lowerclassmen, it's normal, But it turns out that Sir Night Eye really is like this. It seems like he's a serious person, but he wants to laugh, or he wants the people around him to try to make him laugh or something. I don't know how that's supposed to work, but apparently Bubble Girl was trying to make him laugh but failed, so he strung her up on a tickle bench. I don't even know. It was very awkward. But then Midoriya came in, tried to make him laugh by doing an All Might impression. Didn't work either. And Mirio was just like, oh, it wasn't funny. And just friggin' ended the episode. Like, what? It was hilarious, but why? I want to learn more about this so much, because I feel like they're gonna have some kind of explanation about it, maybe? I don't know. But to kind of address, to move on from that a bit, maybe I'll come back to it a little more later, like towards the end of the discussion, but I want to kind of go through the episode, bit by bit as it happened, because that helps me, not forget anything. So, if we're going to start off with the Overhaul and League of Villains stuff, it's interesting. So, Overhaul is part of a, Yakuza crime organization kind of thing, and they said he's second. But does that mean that All for One was the first? Or is there... So, was it All for One and then Overhaul? Or was it All for One, someone else, and then Overhaul? And now that All for One's gone, he's second, Or is he second and just hasn't claimed first yet? If he was second to All for One. But he went there with the ambition to make the League of Villains his, essentially, which is interesting. And obviously, Shigaraki isn't gonna want to do that, obviously. He always gets angry when people, like, question him, so Shigaraki has his conviction now, right? He has the means to recruit people, but it doesn't seem like he has a plan yet. Or at least if he does have a plan, it's not one that he's ready to talk about. But the vibe that I got from this episode is that he doesn't have a plan. So we're seeing the stages of Shigaraki's growth, right? We've seen him go from this man-child just wanting to kill All Might just to, cause chaos, to... in like throwing away his pawns, to caring about his pawns a little bit more, and finally finding his reason, and now he's lost his mentor figure, like All for One. He's on his own, he's trying to be his own man, but now he's being questioned about his plans as well, so now, like, we might see growth from Shigaraki that involves him becoming more, strategic and stuff like that, coming up with a better plan than he's had before, possibly, which is frankly terrifying if he does, because even though his plans have been pretty scary and everything, they've been thwarted most of the time by the heroes, right? Obviously, there's been some give and take between the heroes and the villains, but they haven't done anything like super bad. Like, they managed to capture Bakugo, but he managed to get saved, although it came at a cost of losing All Might and stuff like that. So, they're, I don't know. I'm just terrified of the fact that Shigaraki might evolve again into a more strategic person. It might become, like, very interesting what he decides to do, but it seems like he really took Overhaul's words to heart and made him reflect on himself and what All For One had said to him before he got sent away to Tartaros and everything, saying it's his turn, try again, keep trying and stuff like that, But regardless of that, we also had Magni, who was just dead. We knew that Overhaul had some kind of quirk that he could, like... It seemed like he was able to mesh people into other people and other things and, like, objects and stuff, because we saw, like, the people whose, like, faces and body parts were, like, sticking out of the ground and tires and cars and stuff like that. It was very weird. But in this example of his quirk usage, he just, with one little swipe of Magni's skin, Magni just blew up. So that almost seems different from what we've seen before. So that makes me wonder if that was Overhaul that did that before, or was that one of his lackeys? Or is that just like another aspect of his quirk, right? So is he able to do like the meshing of flesh with objects as well as just blow people up? From like, it seemed like he blew up from the inside out, like his skin got all bubbly, almost like diseased, with this whole disease theme. So it's a little weird, I don't know. Or I'm wondering if they arrived at that scene of those robbers, and maybe that already happened. Maybe that was a different quirk user. They arrived there, and then twice arrived there, and it just looked like they were the ones that did it. Like I said, or it could be one of his lackeys, because his whole, like, team was there, essentially. I have no idea. It's going to be interesting to learn more about his power and everything, but Magni is just dead. And they even revealed his weapon this episode, which underneath that cloth was like a whole like magnet thing that he had with him that had, North and South Pole, which they talked about his power. I didn't really understand exactly how all of that worked with like the North and South Pole stuff. But it's crazy that we got to see that weapon and now we're never gonna see it again, Unless, like, something crazy happens and Magni comes back, return from the dead quirk or something that gets used on him, I don't know. But another interesting thing we saw was Himiko Toga was really wanting to kill them, which is interesting because now, I guess we just haven't seen much from her being the kind of person that would want to get revenge for a fallen ally, She seemed to be a lot about herself, at least from what we've seen. So it's interesting that she seemed to be very, like, aggressive in wanting to kill them. And maybe that's not because of Magni, maybe that's just out of her own, like, crazy urge to kill. But I find it interesting that she was so adamant about going after them and stuff, and Shigaraki stopped them. But also, after Magni exploded, we had one of the lackeys come in while Shigaraki was charging him, and they like Shigaraki just like barely brushed him and dissolved him entirely. Now, is that... I'm a little curious about that, because in the first season when we discovered Shigaraki's quirk, he used it on Aizawa and held it there for like a good, even if we assume that scene was slowed down, it seemed like he was holding his elbow like that for a good 2 or 3 seconds, right? Which was way longer than Shigaraki touched him this episode. So, are we to assume that Shigaraki's quirk has grown that much? Or are we to assume that Shigaraki was holding back and didn't want to kill Aizawa back then? Because basically what I'm saying is either Shigaraki's quirk just got exponentially stronger where just a brush can shatter someone completely, or, like I just said, he didn't want to kill Aizawa. So he took it slow to hurt him but not kill him. I don't know. Because that's kind of like that's a crazy amount for his quirk to evolve in this time. Unless he just sat there, like, training it the whole time. Kind of like how the kids were supposed to be doing it at the training camp, I don't know. Interesting stuff. I guess we'll maybe find out more about that later. But there was also something moving around during the scenes, during that fight, and I have no idea what it was. I'm actually going to go back and see if I can see it. Let's see here. I turned off the volume just so I can kind of talk. I also don't understand. I kind of want to reread what Magni said, because I'm not sure why Magni was so adamant about going after him in the first place. Yeah, he said his whole speech about wanting to be the leader and everything, and then Magni, sorry, Yakuza boy, we didn't come together to be under someone. Interesting. Because I kind of missed that part before because I was too distracted by the weapon. I met up with my friend the other day. So I'm just rereading this whole part with the friend that Magni was talking about. I'm here because I don't want to be bound by anything. Interesting. So it seems super weird that Magni would just jump out and attack like that, right? Like, So he doesn't want to be bound by anybody, but he's working under Shigaraki right now. So he's already working underneath a leader figure. So what would it be different if Overhaul was the leader figure? Obviously, Magni approves of Shigaraki, and he might not approve of this guy, but he didn't really give him that much of a chance, He just kind of, attacked him. And, it's crazy what happened, and I love what happened, and it's nuts, but I guess I just don't fully understand Magni's motivations here. Even, after rereading that flashback that just basically talked about how, Magni was able to break away from common sense or something like that. I don't know. Interesting. But yeah, then we had Magni get, barely touched. So, we did see... Okay, so the little bit of effect on Magni's cheek that we saw after that, right before he exploded, it did kind of look like those people on the street. So I think it was Overhaul. It almost looked like it reminds me a bit of, alchemist marks from, wow. What the hell? Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. God. It reminded me of that, and it was kind of similar to what it was on the street, so I think that was Overhaul's quirk being done. He just has multiple ways that he can use it, I guess, but holy crap, I'm just pausing the screen and friggin' Magni exploded. Oh my god. But the whole reason I went back to look at this was not to understand Magni's motivations, but I wanted to figure out what that little item was that was bouncing around. He's scratching himself, saying how much he hates it. Compress jumps in, and yeah, right when Compress is jumping in, it fades to black and white, and there's like a bullet or something coming down, but not quite a bullet. And it touches him, and then he said he can't use his quirk. And he blew up his arm. And then it shows that bullet again falling. It almost looks like a dart kind of thing. It has like a needle on the end or something. Oh. Okay, so here's my theory about this. I'm kind of glad I went back. Because what I think was... Sorry for the big delay on all of this, but I really wanted to be able to analyze this. I think whatever that device is that hit Compress can nullify people's quirks, which is insane if it is. And they tried to hit Shigaraki with it, but they missed. And as soon as it went past Shigaraki, you could see Overhaul be like, ugh, and like jump back. And that's when, because he realized that Shigaraki was going to be able to use his quirk. And that's when his buddy jumped in front, and Shigaraki, like, instantly just decayed his ass. Interesting. Also, Overhaul's skin, like, bubbled up as soon as he was, like, touched by Compress, which is interesting. So, I guess I don't need to recap anymore now. I saw basically everything that I wanted to see out of that, but wow, so potentially a device that can stop quirks. Whew. And then... So I'm guessing his friends were just like, you know, above, dropping that stuff down, or shooting it down like a friggin' dart or something, like a dart gun, or I don't know, unless it's a quirk that can manifest that stuff. Like, I guess we've seen someone create camera lenses, so, you know, maybe it's someone's quirk that, like, he can produce a dart that can cancel quirks, like, kind of like a less effective Aizawa, because Aizawa can just look at them, right? But he actually has to hit them with that dart thing, if that is how it works and everything, for it to go into effect. I guess once you're hit by it, maybe it's like semi-permanent. Maybe it lasts a lot longer than Aizawa can hold his eyes open for, so maybe it is like more effective than Aizawa, like in some regards, but I don't know. That's super interesting though. But anyway, I guess they said 1 kill on each side, although Shigaraki still had it worse because Compress lost an arm. I'm assuming Compress will live, though. But, man. And they said they can talk later, so, you know, I guess just conflict between villains, you know, like, means they still could end up working together in the future. But all that being said, if we move on to the second half of the episode, which was friggin' such a stark contrast to what the rest of it was, they started talking about the work studies. I don't have as much to talk about this, I don't think, because I've already talked a lot about the Sir Night Eye stuff, but I do want to talk a bit about, like, the All Might stuff. So, the kids are only going to be able to do the work study if the teachers, or the school, I guess, as a whole, approves of the agency they go with. It has to be an agency that has a good success rate with their work studies in order for the first years to go. So I'm guessing, like, I think I mentioned it during the episode, but a lot of kids probably won't be able to go. I'm assuming this isn't going to be one of those cases where, like, almost all of them go, you know? like, we had the theories about the provisional license exams where we thought that maybe, not everyone would pass, but pretty close to everyone did, except for, 2 UA students. So, I think there's going to be a lot less that go on the work study kind of thing. And Midoriya really wants to go, he wants to get stronger, and basically he's realizing the pressure that's on him, inheriting this quirk and potentially being the next symbol of peace and everything. So even though All Might opposed the work study, he's still going, which is interesting because I felt like All Might's views and outlook would carry more weight with Midoriya, but he just kind of brushed it off. Like, he was like, I was one of the ones that opposed it, and Midoriya's like, well, I gotta go, so screw you, I know he didn't say it word for word like that, but it's very interesting because of how much he, loves All Might. He was still able to so easily tell him, like, no, I'm doing this, It's very interesting. It almost doesn't feel like it's within Midoriya's character to do that kind of thing. Like, maybe I would have liked to see a little bit more second guessing in his devotion to doing this work study from Midoriya after hearing about what All Might said. But I don't know. Even if it ended up in the same place where he still does try to do the work study stuff, I just feel like, I don't know. It was a little weird to me. But it's interesting that All Might opposed the work study. I guess after everything that's happened between the kids and everything, he wants them to get more, schooling, some more practical training and everything and all that before he jumps into the world of villains and stuff like that. And also maybe part of the reason All Might's decision changed a bit was maybe had a little bit to do with Izuku's mom. I called Midoriya like 3 different things this episode. In the discussion, I've called him Deku, Izuku, and Midoriya. I'm sure you guys know what I mean, though, by this point. I don't know why I bounce between names, but Midoriya's mom, she, is super worried about him, wants his kid to be safe, and this is obviously not the safest thing. So I can understand where All Might's coming from, especially after hearing and making those promises to his mom and everything. So I do get it. And I honestly, from a story standpoint, or from a viewer standpoint, I should say, I would love to see him go on this work study, because I want to see more fighting and stuff like that. I love the action and everything in this show, but from a story standpoint, I do kind of agree with All Might. I think he should be working, like All Might said it perfectly, improving his shoot style and stuff like that, trying to make it so he can use more than 8% of his power before he really, goes on the street and everything. So I don't know. I just wish I wish Midoriya didn't brush off All Might's comments so easily. That kind of stinks. But yeah, I mean, he ended up going to the agency. The conversation between All Might and Mirio was kind of interesting. But yeah, man. And I already talked about the Sir Night Eye stuff. I don't really have much to add about that, or anything really. I'd just be reiterating what I've already said. So I think I pretty much summed up everything that I have to talk about for this episode. I can skim through it real quick just to see if there's anything that I really missed. Talked about that. Yeah. I guess it was pretty funny, this episode. Like, even though it was pretty serious, the whole All Might being against Midoriya really like All Might being against Midoriya doing the work study. You know, any of the kids doing the work study, really. It's not just Midoriya. It wasn't singling out Midoriya. But it was really funny when he was explaining why he wouldn't introduce it, those three reasons, and the teachers, like, coming in out of nowhere with their little, like, comments. Like, fucking, I just got to the part where President Mike is, like, doing his little, like, feelings thing. And then the whole ectoplasm teacher guy was like talking about how he wants to do karaoke and stuff. Just like the random comments, they're trying to add levity to a serious situation, and I get it, but it felt so out of place. I don't know. That's so weird. Mirio's so great too. I really like his character. I'm so whenever I see after Steins Gate Zero, whenever I see like a fun, like just happy, energetic guy that I just like, I get like nervous because that ended poorly for me on Steins Gate Zero. Oh yeah, who ran by them? That was Midoriya, right? It was. He just freaking zoomed out of there. That's so funny. I thought I saw the streak of green, barely, but I was like focused on the subtitles, so I was kind of looking down, and it happens so quick. Oh man, he's like the friggin' Flash zooming around. Alrighty though. I think that pretty much did sum up everything I had to say about this episode, though. It was a very good episode. Even though, like, some of the themes were weird, and the stark contrast between, like, the happy-go-lucky school stuff and the friggin' death we saw. But, you know. Anyways. Yeah, guys. Good stuff. I'm very much looking forward to what comes next, even though I'm not sure what comes next. I guess more Sir Night Eyes stuff and you know maybe still furthering the villain storyline a bit too. I don't know, but I guess it's also kind of I guess I will say this: Sir Night Eye is investigating Overhaul, which is also linked to the League of Villains and all that, and Midoriya is getting tied up and all that. So you know, that is probably gonna be like a huge part of this arc, especially when it comes to the, you know, if you factor in like the metagaming of the opening and the outro where it showed like the one-horned girl, but it also shows Mirio a lot, which Mirio works with Sir Night Eyes, so it might be Midoriya and Mirio like doing a lot of stuff together that has to do with Overhaul and all that, so that's gonna be a thing, but anyways, guys, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed. That's going to sum it up from me today. I'm going to go cook some food and start editing, probably. But, yeah. So, if you guys enjoyed, hit that subscribe button. There's also a link to my Patreon down in the description if you want to support me and also get access to things like full length and early access for my other shows. Early access is not affected for this show because I am watching it while it airs. So, you know, early access has no effect on airing shows. I have that as a little, you know, disclaimer when you're becoming a patron and all that too. So, but that's just because I don't want to make YouTube people wait a week to see these episodes after they release. I want everyone to be able to see them as soon as they release. So, yeah. Anyways, if you want to support me, you can do that. You can get access to full length, you know, if you like my other shows as well that I'm doing reactions to. You get access to early access as well if you know, buy into the high enough tier. I very much appreciate any support. You guys are awesome. And I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.